Hi, everyone. I am so very excited to be here with you guys today. I have the absolute privilege and honor of interviewing Maria Moss today. She is the owner of Phoenix Leadership Solutions, and it's an amazing training organization that is helping so many people across the United States. She goes into schools and works with kids. She does so much amazing work. And I am so privileged, Maria, to have you here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to allow me to interview you and ask you questions.
Thank you for having me. It's my honor to be here and just to get to talk about what I love. So what I get to do that I love, and just share with you and with everybody else just the coolness of it all.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Can you just tell us a little bit about your background and kind of where you come from and how all of this started?
Yeah, sure. So I actually began like my love of training well before I knew it was like a career. So back in college when I was in different jobs, I always loved what the trainers did. So going into work in a call center, sitting through training, getting to just go back to different workshops. So I fell in love with training before I knew it could be a career. And then fast forward a couple years, I was relocating back to Columbus, Georgia, and there was an opening for a training position at a call center. And so I was like, oh, I'll give it a go. I think I like this. And in my other jobs, I'd informally taken on a training role as, the other duties as assigned. So I was kind of still loving it, kind of getting good at it. And so decided to take the leap and make it a career, and never look back. So after that point, I worked there for about 3, maybe 4 years, relocated across the state to Savannah, started working in leadership employee development, which is a little bit different than systems, which is what I was initially doing. So got into helping to just develop great people, and just completely fell in love with that. And then about almost 2 years ago, took the leap, started my own consulting business, and it's the best thing I ever did. So getting to work with not just one organization, various organizations, different entities, from helping executive leadership teams with development all the way to yesterday I was meeting with a local high school ROTC teacher who wants me to come in and talk to kids about some of the challenges and the opportunities in growing up. So it's the whole gamut of helping to lead and develop everybody now, which is a little bit different than what I was doing.
I absolutely love that, and that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on, because I wish that when I was in high school, I had what you're doing for the schools. Like what you're doing is impacting so many people's lives. And if I had had that kind of leadership development at such a young age, then I know I would have been in much better, not better, but a different place now. I would have moved a little quicker in what I wanted to achieve. So I love that. And I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you.
I should have done this at the beginning, but I just want to give a little bit of background of how all this started and like why I interview people on Fridays. One of the things that I've always heard is you're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself the most with. And so I thought it would be really cool if every Friday I could learn from a different entrepreneur. And then I thought, well, how cool would it be if like we broadcasted it and all these people got to see it, and maybe somebody else would find value out of this. So if you guys are taking a look at this for the very first time, that's what this is about. It's about showing you that there are unconventional ways that you can live your life, that you don't have to just go to college and get a job. You can make an income, fulfilling and living your passion. And I know that that's something that Maria does every single day.
Yeah. It's so to get paid to do what you love. Like I've worked in jobs that I liked a lot, and it's still like this feeling is totally different. So yeah.
Yes, no, I can totally relate to that. So what attracted you initially to the training industry? You kind of talked a little bit about your background. It kind of sounds like it was something that just sort of happened over time, but what initially attracted you, I guess?
I think like back in the earliest days, so graduating from high school and going to get jobs at different places that were more, business than I worked in high school, just seeing people taking the time to invest in the success of other people. Like I think that was the big thing. Like it was like, even if it was going to work as a call center rep or claims rep or whatever, there was someone whose whole job was dedicated to helping other people be better. And I think that was the initial draw for me. Like that is so cool. So that like kind of made me interested in it. I remember way back, like having a job at a call center, and the trainer lady, like I started stalking her. Like I was always like, hey, and trying to hang out with her and talk to her about what she did, because it was just intriguing that her whole job was just helping other people. And so that was the initial draw. And then as I started getting the opportunity to train people in my role, like other duties as a sign, can you help the new person? It just grew. It just grew to a passion, more than just an attraction, but became a passion.
I love that. That's awesome. It's crazy because I feel like we always end up in a different place than we kind of set out to, and we never like really think about that. And then we look back and we're like, wow, how did I get here? This is so cool.
Yeah. How did I get here?
So, throughout your journey, because initially it's not like like we said, a lot of times you find yourself in a different place than where you started. Mm-hmm. So what are some key things that you think have helped you achieve such amazing success along the way?
I think, and yesterday it was funny because the ROTC teacher that I was talking to asked me like a similar question. And when I really thought about it, it was, I'm very, very determined, stubborn kind of, and very resilient. So to me, it's like, no is never the final answer. No is just find a different way to do what you want to do. And so I've always taken setbacks as an opportunity to reinvent a new solution, to find a new way to do things. So my business, which I'm running now going into the end of year 2, actually I wasn't supposed to do until 2019. So my plan was in 2019, I'm gonna try out consulting. And then I got a no, like I got a door closed, which was a layoff. And it was the opportunity for me to say, okay, so I'm a little bit stubborn, I'm not gonna take the easy way out. Let me push and see what I can come up with. So I say that resilience, that determination, and a little sprinkle of stubbornness are the things that help me to keep pushing even when it feels impossible.
That is so awesome. I love how like you have a concrete example of a time where, sometimes, and I don't mean this in a negative connotation. A layoff is not something that is easy to get through, but I love how you took that layoff and completely and totally turned it around, and it actually allowed you to follow your passion even sooner.
Yeah, because I feel like if it hadn't happened, I'd still be, which wasn't a bad place, but I'd still be there waiting. And I think I was more capable than I believed I was. And so it took not having that comfort to say, let me just try something else that maybe just, I'm already uncomfortable. So why not? And the worst thing, and I always say, like, the worst thing that can happen is I have to get a job, right? And that's like, people do that we work jobs every day. It's not an end of the world thing. So that was like my mantra. I kept telling myself, the worst thing that happened is I have to get a job. And then, the best thing that can happen is it work out. Like I've laid a good framework, and I just was a little scared to jump. And so, yeah, like it was sucky. For me, it wasn't, even early on. And part of that is practicing what I preach. I can't go around and tell people, you got to focus on the stuff you can influence, not worry about the stuff you're concerned about, when I'm not doing it myself. And so for me, it was like that consistent practice of living what I was teaching and trying to help people develop as a skill, which was the day of the layoffs. They were like, everybody's laid off. I'm like, all right, so plan B, let's kick it into action. Let's keep going. As so many people were upset and devastated. To me, it was like, I got to focus on what I can influence, and it's my opportunity for whatever is next, and I can start working towards that. So yeah.
That's amazing, because a lot of times we get caught up on things we can't control. Like you can't control a layoff, but you can control finding another job. You can control starting a new business venture, just like you did, and you can control following your passion. So if you guys are out there and you're working a job today that you feel stuck in, think about alternatives, like what you can do to live a more fulfilled life. And just like Maria was saying, just like you were saying, though, like, you teach so much on leadership and the stuff that you teach, and I've taken one of your classes, and you are such a dynamic teacher. Like I should have said this at the beginning, but you were like an amazing trainer. I absolutely loved your class. You interact with everybody, and you were just absolutely wonderful. And you're right. It's part of practicing those things that you learn, those leadership skills, and putting those habits into practice.
Oh yeah. And it makes a huge difference, like with any setback or any obstacle or any challenge. Just going back to what I know to be real and that I teach and that I try to live just tends to make everything so much easier.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So we've kind of moved a little along here, and we're talking about different obstacles um, that you have gone through. So that was one obstacle that you had to overcome. Were there other obstacles that you have had to overcome throughout this journey? And how did you kind of take those obstacles and use them to propel you forward instead of getting stuck?
So another one that really comes to mind is self-awareness. Huge obstacle. Like for me, I really like myself, like a lot. And so when things would happen in corporate world that challenged me being or showing up exactly as who I was, that authenticity thing, I just didn't want to budge. And so one of my huge obstacles was getting to the point of self-awareness where I learned how to temper my approach based on results. And so not changing who I am, changing how I am perceived in order to get the results I want, because I am very direct, I'm very honest, I'm very black and white, there is no gray. And a huge eye opener for me was working in a group of people who were very high emotional, less logical, just by, preference, and just having the headbutting and realizing it's not me changing who I am. It's, if I want to have a good relationship with my coworkers, I need to change how I approach things. Or people's perception is their reality. And so however they perceive things for them is true. And it was kind of like the mindset of how can I best manage perceptions versus just saying, just take me as I am. And it's like, it don't work for everybody. So managing perceptions and being able to build and grow my influence based on those strategies. Initially, I didn't like it. And I was like, I want to just be me. Everybody else can be them. And then it was kind of the aha of, what's better for the greater good? How can I best show up as the best Maria possible so that everyone has a good experience, not just people who are similar to me or people who, like this approach. And so that was a big obstacle. And I had an executive coach actually, who helped me out with that. And we spent a lot of time just working on tempering my approach, not changing me, and managing perceptions to help me be a better influencer. Because my energy, I learned over the course of part of that journey, is infectious, whether I like it or not. So it's like it's the good and bad. It's like if I'm in a good mood and I'm feeling great, that plays off on everybody. And anytime I'm not, people also are affected by that. And so it was like, that's my duty to make sure that the impact I have on people is the one I want to have. And that was kind of a huge obstacle. And I overcame it, and it's been great ever since.
That's amazing. And I'm so happy that you're sharing that because um, we are in, I mean, we're in very different industries. You're in a training industry, and I'm more in the network marketing profession. And it's really crazy how much a lot of the stuff like aligns as far as just leadership development and like moving yourself forward and just personal development. And so I love that you share that because that's also probably what's been one of the biggest things that's helped you grow your business organically, right? Because you're showing up as your best self every single day.
Yeah. And it's funny because people are watching whether you know it or not. And so for me, it's always like, I want to be above board with my actions and intentions at all times, not just when I'm feeling like I'm on, at all times. And that helps build just better relationships and just makes it just better environment as a whole, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, and it allows you to have, first of all, allows you to be happier because you have to be happier, but it also allows you to have a bigger impact on the world around the people, like around a, a bigger impact for the people around you, especially the people who mean the most, like your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. So, having done what you have done and created what you have created, would you do it all over again?
Yes, and I would do it sooner. I think I held back just because of like a lot of times, that fear of the unknown. I have a steady paycheck. I know, every Friday I'm getting paid. And that fear of the unknown, I think made me prolong what I was ready for probably years ago. So I think I would do it all over again. I think I would do it sooner. Yeah, and just try it out and like spread my wings because the freedom and the flexibility and the variety and the energy I have now, I love it. And it's like, wow, this would have been cool, like, 5 years ago. So I think I would have probably taken the leap earlier.
That's awesome. So knowing what you know now, you would have done it earlier, but would you have done anything differently?
Yeah, I think I would have not, which kind of, not taken the path that I was just thinking I had to be on, because I can, like, again, think back to early on realizing that I love training. And I felt like I had to do these. Like, I went to college for this, so I got to do this. Like, it went, and it was like, I knew even in college as a student that I loved training. And I'm going to these jobs just to, work while I was in college. So I think what I would have done differently is I would have recognized the passion earlier and invested a lot more in it early on versus feeling like I had to take the job or go into the field that I was going to school for.
I think I'm so glad you touched on that, because I think a lot of people have that same opinion about things. Like, I definitely went to school for something for not so much for passion reasons, and I love what I do now. But and I love my engineering background, and I'm really glad that I have it, because it's helped me with a lot of different things, and I'm still kind of in the engineering role. But I think so many times we get stuck in that mindset of like, this is what you have to do, and this is what everybody's telling me I have to do, and so that's what I'm going to do. And so I love that you shared that. So now that you are where you are today, how have you created, you talked about freedom, how have you created more freedom in your life, more time freedom, more financial freedom, things like that?
So I think I'm in more control of all of that. So by all of that, I mean, time freedom. I have the flexibility and the ability to say yay or nay to any work. So I've like carved out certain parts of my year that are just non-negotiable, like the holidays. December, I want to be home. I want to be here. I want to be flexible for my family to do whatever. First week of school, last week of school. This year, I kind of goofed the first week of school calendar, but last week of school, first week of school, I typically try to keep those just to be here to help get the routine established, get everybody going. So that's what I mean by time flexibility. Like, if I want to take a vacation, I can plan it out and I don't have to worry about, do I have enough time off? Do I have whatever? So that's a huge one. And then just working with more of a schedule that matches me. So when I'm training, working with my clients on the time schedule. And then when I'm not training, it's my hours. So I can get up in the morning, take the kids to school, cook breakfast, come back or go work out, and then come home and start working. And I'll work till it's time to pick them up and, get them home, and then be back in that routine until later on when they go to bed and jump on work. So it's made it so that I can work around my life a lot more. And then financial freedom, I'm in control of how much money I make. So if I want to say yes to more work, I'll make more money. If I say no to work, then I realize I'll make less money. And so then I'll look at like, how can I make more money here or this time or whatever. So I think that's giving me more freedom than just having to wait on a yearly review and someone to tell me whether or not I deserve more. I get to say yes or no. So that's kind of the coolest part of that. And then just like with everything, I'm able to really work towards a better balance. I'm not perfect, and I'm guilty of, I never really stop working, which I got to be a little bit better about. Because I look at my phone, see, I'm like, oh, I want to work, So I got to get better at that. And I also feel like it's given me just the ability to start being more mindful of, where my energy and my time is going. The other day, I've been home all this week, so I haven't traveled this week. I'm back on the road next week. And the other day, like, I finished up some stuff, and then I just cut off my phone and I cut off my computer. I cut off everything. And my daughters, when I picked them up from school, I told them, I was like, I cut off everything. Like, I need a break. So I just cut off everything until tomorrow. And they were just like, oh, okay. And then one of them missed the bus and she was calling, but my phone was off. But it's just like that, the ability to do those things, when before, I guess I was more tied to what I needed to do for other people, which I did a great job. Now it's more around me. And if I feel like I've worked enough, then I'll say no. And I'll be okay with it. And I know, if I want to make more money, I'll take more jobs and work. And so that's like some of the freedom that has come from this venture. And, people ask all the time, would you go back? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I have specific 3 things that a company has to have for me to even be interested in a position. And yet right now it just feels too good. Like, this is just it's harder work than I've ever worked, because I have to make opportunities and I have to make the relationships and I have to make the business happen. Yet it's the most rewarding work, because it's me doing what I love, helping people all over the place, on my schedule and on my time, kind of how I want it to go. So, yeah.
But you're also like in the beginning, right? Like you're in like year 2 or right?
Yes, year 2.
Yeah.
Huh.
And so you're just building that foundation. And so that's what's so amazing to me is you might have to work really hard now on like building these relationships and all that stuff. But once you have branched out and you've built a lot of relationships, like those things are going to come so much easier for you. And you're not even going to have to worry. And then that's going to bring even more freedom in your life. And then as you grow, you can leverage that time and even bring on more help for training. And I think that that's amazing. I think what you have created is unbelievable. And I admire you so much for it.
Thank you. It's fun. It's a roller coaster, but it's fun. Some days I'm like, oh, this is the best ever. And some days I'm like, what was I thinking? Yet it all still is good.
Yeah, well, and I bet your kids absolutely love like when you cut your phone off and you can say, okay, like what do you guys want to do? Like we can do anything. What do you want to do?
Yeah. Or even when they're like, can you come eat lunch with me at school? And it's like, yeah, because I don't have anything else to do today. Like, I can make that happen. So that's to me one of the best parts.
Yeah. Whereas before, if you're going to a job, like you're trading time for dollars, right? Yeah. So that's what you have to deliver is time. And time is one thing that you can never get back.
No.
Ever. So that was beautiful. So I have one last question for you. Okay. What's one piece of wisdom you could share with someone who may be unhappy or struggling with where they are at in life? Like maybe they just went through a layoff, or maybe, they're feeling really unfulfilled in their job and they're trying to decide what they want to do. What's one thing that you think you could share with them that might help them?
I would say one thing that I would tell them is don't be afraid to try anything. Like the worst thing that someone can tell you is no. And if you never try, the answer is already no. So I would say don't be afraid to try something new. You might be surprised at what you uncover. You might, find a whole new avenue, but that fear, I feel like, holds us back so much. Fear of the unknown and the routine holds us back so much. And so I would just encourage anybody who is in a position where they're, not happy, they're feeling stuck, whatever. Don't let fear keep you where you are. Not saying like be crazy and just quit your job. If you can't, don't do that. And I am saying, if there's something that you're passionate about, something that you want to pursue, find ways to pursue it until you get to the point where you can make it yours. Don't be afraid to do, what's not the norm. Like when I said I was starting a business, a lot of people were like, you just need to get a job so you can have a steady paycheck. You just need to get a job. And I'm like, a job isn't a steady paycheck. I just got laid off, right? So it's like, don't let fear keep you from trying something. And the worst thing that you could do is you may have to go get a job. And that's where you are now. So it's not the worst thing that could happen.
I love that. I think that that's amazing advice. And I love that you also talked about how a lot of people told you what you should be doing, because sometimes, when we make a decision to go for something, even the people who are closest to us can be our biggest, not advocate, but our biggest person pulling us back, saying, hey, what are you doing? And sometimes that's good with some things to question. Yeah. But then it's also really a true test of how passionate you are about something and how bad you want it and how much you want to go for it. Thank you so much, Maria.
You're welcome.
This was amazing. People are going to get so much value out of this. You guys, I do this every single Friday with a different entrepreneur in some type of industry. Sometimes they're in my industry, which is network marketing. Sometimes they're in a consulting industry with training and stuff like that. So make sure to tune in and you'll get some awesome tips from some really amazing people. I don't know why I'm getting so tongue-tied today. Maria, do you have anything else that you'd just like to add before we hop off here?
No, just everybody just be great. Whatever great is to you. Like don't settle for expectations of other people or what people think you should do. Just be great and do what makes you feel good.
I love that. Have an amazing day, Maria. You guys, thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.